And
let's see if we can follow the action. They're going down the parking lot. I don't believe this. They are literally out in the parking lot here at Freedom Hall tonight. Let's see if our camera's with us, so we're going to keep going here. Robert Gibson and New Jack, Ricky Morton and Mustafa Saeed. They are here in the parking lot. There goes New Jack on the top of a car here. Looks like the alarm from the car has gone off. Meanwhile, Mustafa Saeed has been bashed into a light post, a steel light post here in the parking lot outside of Freedom Hall.
And welcome to another action-packed, exciting hour of the Smoky Mountain Wrestling Rewatch-Along Project. This is podcasting the way it used to be and the way you like it. This show is a production of the Something Else Podcasting Network, and it is episode number 138 of Smoky Mountain Wrestling from September 17th, 1994, taped September 5th, 1994, from the Cumberland High School in Cumberland, Kentucky. My name is Arya. And joining me, as always, is the Lance Storm to my the Hornet. It's Trae. Trae, if I can be serious for a minute, how the hell are you doing today?
I'm sorry. I was not prepared for Lance Storm to the Hornet. That was.
I mean, you and I in 2026 were as useful to breaking up that fight as the Hornet and Lance Storm were in 1994.
That was the most, that was the stupidest thing. I appreciated that Brian Lee, and I'm like, oh, hey, the guy that I hate, I'm going to punch you while we're here.
I mean, it made sense that he did not see Chris Candido, because, I mean, Brian Lee is like 6'6", 6'7", and Chris Candido is definitely not that.
And when he saw Chris Candido, it was on site, so good for him.
Yes. But that is how this week's episode of Smoky Mountain Wrestling opened, with that cold open of Chip Kessler screaming about the parking lot, and Mustafa got sent into a light post in the parking lot. Oh, Lord. We're either going to really love or really hate Chip Kessler, I think, by the time this show ends.
I'm not ready. Oh,
it's okay. We still have 6 months to go.
Okay, we have JR for like 5 months or whatever.
We have JR until WrestleMania. So,
okay.
So we got about 6 months to go. And this is the last TV taping with Bob Caudle. He's officially DUNN done.
Oh, Bob. Leave the memories alone.
We hardly knew ye. Well, we're just going to go, we're play the intro quickly, but then we're going to talk about the angle, because this angle dominates, especially the first half of the show. But we're going to play the intro quickly and then come right back. Well, as opposed to normally when we'd play the intro and, I don't know, just go elsewhere and have a snack or something. I don't know. But let's go to the intro.
Welcome to another exciting action-packed hour of Smoky Mountain Wrestling. Professional wrestling the way it used to be and the way you like it. Hi, wrestling fans. I'm Bob Caudle along with Les Thatcher. You just saw some action footage of a match between the Rock and Roll Express and the Gangstas from Johnson City, Tennessee. Well, we're going to have lots more of that to come during this hour. And Les, we've got much more.
We certainly do. In this hour, Bruiser, Bedlam, and the Dirty White Boy both in action. Our big main event is a tag match. Chris Candido and his, I don't know what you're going to call this guy, Boo Bradley, are taking on Lance Storm. Lance is looking for a partner that didn't like Candido and Bradley. He found one in Brian Lee. And on a more somber note, I do want to mention that this week, the great legendary Professor Boris Malenko passed away, and we here at Smoky Mountain Wrestling would like to send out our condolences to his family, Bob.
Right, you are. Les, that's a very, very sad note. By the way, also, fans, the rock and roll and the Gangstas action, we're going to have that for you when we come back. But right now, we want to take time out for this.
So yeah, we mentioned this either last week or the week before, but Boris Malenko passed away, and like they had talked about him on this show because he was going to be on the Night of the Legends, but he was in hospice care, and well, you know,
Mhm.
it it was nice of them to follow up on it. I'll say that, and it was nice of them to mention it too.
Yeah, and we talked about it. Legendary wrestler, manager, trainer, the great Malenko.
Yeah. So we do have a main event this week. We do not have a TV title match because you might recall Lance Storm was our TV champion, and he defends the title less than Terry Taylor, who is a bitch, a stooge, and a degens over on Mid South.
That's not. I knew you were going to be hot about that. I was fully expecting that, but that is not fair because he defended the title for like 2
2 weeks.
weeks in a row, and then got put in this tag match.
I'm not hot about it. I'm waiting. We'll talk about this later, but I'm waiting till next week to judge.
That's
And
yeah,
I've got
that's
my
fair.
and I got my theory, and I'll talk to you about. I will talk about that later. But I got my theory on the TV title and why these defenses have been so fucked up. But we'll get to that here. But yeah, we're like nothing remarkable in ring wise. Anyway, I mean, I say that, but I mean Lance Storm and Brian Lee versus Candido and Boo Bradley. At least half of that match is great. We'll get to that. Um, but so we might as well jump right into this. So after that intro, we came back from commercial, went straight to Johnson City, Tennessee, for what was supposed to be a match between the Rock and Roll Express and the Gangstas. I'm assuming for the tag titles because the Rock and Rolls are the tag champs. The first thing I noticed, and this is the last jab I'm going to take during the next 15 minutes of this angle, this was an empty arena match in Johnson City. Um, not really, but there were a ton of empty seats right on camera. Um, and so that's it. Now, I do want to note, so I don't forget this. I did, when I was reading The Observer a few weeks ago, Dave noted that the Rock and Roll Express, for some reason, were not at this TV taping. And so there will be no TV taping arena footage of the Rock and Roll Express. If for anything for the next month we'll see of them, it'll all be pre-taped stuff like this.
That's very weird. Were they working somewhere else?
I know Dave mentioned it, and I should have written it down, but I read it like 2 weeks ago, and just it slipped my mind.
Almost searched
Uh,
cage match for Rocky Morton.
or Ribbert Gibson. So,
ribbed for her pleasure.
this was a street fight. The match never got started. The bell never rang, and I'm gonna say this because like we can't. It's sometimes hard to like ignore the fact that we're in 2026. And I think about it, like if you went to a big show and you were told you were going to get a tag title match with the Rock and Roll Express and the Gangstas, and the match didn't even happen, even though it was obviously an angle to set up for a match for the next month, you'd be pissed. But this crowd was really fucking into this, and it also went really well. Um, this was more or less an 8-minute street fight here. It was triple juice because Robert apparently is allergic to the blade. Um, but we got our fifth or sixth hanging. I lost count, but we got another hanging here as the Gangsters hung Ricky Morton over the top rope, but Robert quickly broke it up so Ricky didn't have to sell it too long. Um, and Mark Curtis was there allegedly to referee, and he was not. He was a very smart man. He was smart enough to do his job, but also know that he wasn't going to be able to break this up. So he was kind of letting it be while yelling at them to stop. And Ricky Morton got tired of being yelled at to stop, so he heaved Mark Curtis out of the ring. And this is when the Hornet ran in for the save. And honestly, it looked to me like the Hornet ran in to try to help Ricky Morton do an Irish whip, but ended up he got thrown down. Lance Storm ran in allegedly for the save, but Lance Storm ran in and didn't do anything. He watched it happen. He was less of a participant than Mark Curtis was. And that's when the rest of the locker room decided to make this a battle royal. And I didn't look up the results, but like I'll bet you the show ended with a battle royal like it usually did. So I'm like, well, the rest of the locker room wanted to start the battle royal early, I guess.
Apparently,
Um,
this was how the show ended.
okay. I'm just so used to reading those house show results and they all end in a battle royal that I figured,
Yeah,
you know,
it's
we were getting the battle royal
unofficial.
out of the mirror. Yes. So I was curious. Now this was a great angle. I am not disparaging it. If it were me, like it hit all of the it checked all the boxes for a great angle here. It accomplished all of its goals. They had what was essentially like it wasn't a match, but it was a match. It was an 8-minute street fight, and so the crowd didn't really get gypped, although they got gypped out of a match. But no one got beat, so they could return the match next month without having to worry about rehabbing anybody. Um, the Gangstas succeeded in getting the Rock and Roll to have their type of match, and the Rock and Roll proved that they could have a street fight and hold their own against the Gangstas. Um, my I am curious, and I didn't look this up, and maybe because you're looking at the results, you may be able to tell me, did they do this same angle around the loop? Because
Um, Not exact because this is the only one that's listed as a no contest.
okay, because like I always think about that, like we're trying to pretend wrestling's real, but we're gonna air clips from one house show of something that happened on 10 house shows. But at least
Yeah,
that in that case, that didn't happen then. Um, I think about Memphis, like, everyone talks about how great Memphis is, but it's like, you always hear the stories that what happened in Memphis on Monday happened the next week on Tuesday in Louisville and Evanston, Indiana, and all that. And so I always wonder, like, what the hell did those fans think when they're looking at Memphis clips of stuff that they just saw in Louisville and Evansville and all these other towns that they went to?
but you
You think that
can't.
might expose the business?
But you can't have fucking Electric Light Orchestra sing about the land of make believe.
Exactly. Um, but yeah, I love this. And the cameraman got a shout out, Neil. I would have liked it to have been a little more tightly edited because it was a one camera shoot, and it was like that one camera from the top of the arena. And at one point, obviously Neil got the cue that he had to take the camera and leave. But instead of editing it so the next scene is him on the ground filming the fight, they kept in him taking the camera off of the tripod. And so we're staring at the curtain and we're staring at the floor while listening to Chip Kessler screaming about what we can't see, which, by the way, goes against the first rule of broadcasting. Um, but that I would have tightened up a little bit, but otherwise, flawless angle, like A+ angle. Best angle we've seen on this show in a while, in my opinion.
Great job, Neil.
Yes. I I know it wasn't him because he was in WCW, but I was thinking of Neil Pruitt, who was the WCW production guy, who was the NWO voiceover guy.
Oh, that guy.
Yes. The following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order. That guy. Oh. So, what do you think about this one? Did you love it as
Oh,
much as I did, or am I,
oh
overthinking this one?
no, it was terrific. It was funny. It seemed like they never started the match, and then at one point they just started to ring the bell. I guess they just like the noise. But yeah, this was their.
I,
I do not believe that there was an official wrestling match that took place here.
there was not, and I'll be honest. I know why they do it, and Cornette has also talked about this. It's to help to create you know, the chaos feeling of like, well, what the hell's going on if the bell's just ringing nonstop like that? I always hated that as a kid, the bell ringing nonstop. I'm like, as a child using child logic, I'm like, okay, they're not stopping when you ring the bell once. Why are you just ringing it nonstop?
They just like the noise of it.
Yeah, it's like Fonzie's whistle. It didn't
Yeah,
occur to me that it was supposed to be annoying.
yeah. I don't like. I don't know. I don't think the fans felt all of that cheated.
Oh God, no, no. Because like I said, like they didn't get a match, but they basically got an 8-minute match, you know.
Yeah.
And this took up, quite a bit of Smoky Mountain this week, and again, you have to use the temporal time machine here, the temporal ham radio. But like World Class could have learned a lot from this episode of Smoky Mountain Wrestling, because you know we'll get to it at the end. There's 3 matches, and there weren't a lot of interviews on this show, but I'm left feeling like, man, this was a great episode of Smoky Mountain Wrestling, and I can't wait for next week. Whereas World Class would have 3 matches and not a lot of interviews, if any, and I'd be like, oh my God, will this show ever end?
I know that New Jack did Memphis for like a few weeks with his partner, the Homeboy, but it's like, fuck it, they were made for this Tennessee brawling shit. They could have done great shit with fucking Lawler and Dundee.
Oh yeah, and it's like I don't want to say they were born 2 years or 2 years, 10 years too late, but it's like if they would have gone into Memphis in that late '80s, early '90s kind of doldrums, like that could have been a fucking hot period there. You had the Gangstas versus Lawler and Jarrett, or Lawler and Dundee, or pretty much anybody really. But yeah. Um, so after all that, we go back to the arena where Bob Carl, for one of the last times, is talking to the Gangstas.
You saw them in action. You saw what they can really do in the ring and outside the ring. Here they are, the Gangstas. New Jack.
Robert Gibson, Ricky Morton, you little Caucasian white devil, I told you that I would get you. I told you that no longer this would be a wrestling match, but now it's a fight. You got to do it the way we was brought up doing it. You got to do it South Central LA style, you understand? You talking about you gonna do it the way you want to do it. You no longer can look at a tape and study me and Mustafa. You got to worry about getting some kind of game moving and wonder how you and Ricky gonna survive through this. We gonna get you again, and the next time that I get to put my hands around that little pink neck of yours, I'ma choke the life out of you. I don't like you. I don't like Ricky Morton. I don't like none of these rednecks up here. I don't like none of these Uncle Tom black Negroes they got up here. So get ready, boy, because now you gonna see what it's like to feel pain. You gonna see what it's like to get this slapstick upside your head again. I tried to knock the snot out your nose, and now you gonna see that me and Mustafa, we ain't the ones to play with. We ain't the ones that you will be able to sit back as an old man and tell your kids about. We the ones that you got to sit up and lose sleep about. Get ready, boy, because now we on a mission. And a mission is to put you right beside that big, fat, greasy head Elvis Presley. Rock and roll is dead, and we get ready to put it to you, Jack.
Yes, we're going to be back after that. We'll be back after this.
Can you imagine if, and I just thought about this now with what Jack was saying about being on a mission. Can you imagine if the WWF would have brought them in as men on a mission instead of Mo and Mabel?
New Jack, 10 out of 10, no notes per usual. Hey, have we inducted the Gangstas into the something else, all the something else yet?
1 second, I'm fast forwarding to the next promo. Okay. Let's see. Let me scroll up. By the way, Oscar so wouldn't have gotten fucked around with if he was with New Jack all the time. So yes and no. We inducted New Jack on January 6th for calling the NAACP a bunch of trained Negroes.
Oh, good enough.
Okay, so you don't want to induct the whole team?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe we'll revisit that.
Okay. So I also wanted to bring up that when I was going through the Observer, and I think this is also may have been what he was actually named or spelled at the time, Dave was calling New Jack NU Jack, like new NU instead of NEW.
I don't know. Maybe that was just a Dave-ism, or maybe Dave was getting that information from somewhere.
Yeah, it's kind of funny as reading the Observer, and especially the Smoky Mountain part of it. It's like if you didn't already know that Jim Cornette was a source for Dave, You just have to read the Observer because, like, literally, it's like these are stories Jim Cornette has told almost word for word on his podcasts, over the last decade. It's like I'm like reading this. I'm like I'm reading it in Jim Cornette's voice, and I'm like, huh, yeah, this is, you know, Jim Cornette definitely reported to Dave Meltzer what was going on, which I guess shouldn't be
Yeah.
that surprising because, like, Jim sent Dave his Christmas poems a couple of years in a row, and I know, and I don't remember what it was for, but I know at least once Jim sent a letter to Dave that got printed in the Observer where he was signed Jim Cornette, President, Smoky Mountain Wrestling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, it's like this was the first 17 minutes of the show, and it's like chef's kiss. You know, they may not have a hot angle at the top of the card, which they, more often than not, they really have never had a hot singles angle at the top of the card. Like their hottest angles have mostly been the tag team feuds.
Hmm.
But yeah, this is just another continuation of that. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. This is the hot issue.
did you see what OJ was reading? I know that it was a little blurry, especially like with 30-year-old videos. But did you catch what he was reading?
I didn't catch what OJ was reading.
You didn't catch what OJ was reading?
I didn't.
Is that what I said, or is that you doing a faux pas?
You asked me if I saw what OJ was reading.
Okay, I fucked it up. Did you see what New Jack was reading? Which
No.
kind of
No.
tells you the answer, I guess.
What was New Jack reading?
He was reading a National Enquirer story about O.J. Simpson.
That's fantastic.
I seriously thought that I said it right and you fucked it up. I'm like, wow, you didn't see it and somehow you knew what it was. Um, this has not been my week, especially this has not been my day. Like, I, oh my God. Since we're not talking about this, we can go off on a little bit of a rant here. So I was at work today, and like I had my 180 to the day. Like my job, I tell Trae and my friends stories about some of the stupid callers I get. But my last call today, I get off at 5:30. I get a call at 5:20, and I knew something was up because this woman, she works for an agent, a financial agent, and she's like, "This is gonna be a long call because I got a lot of stuff to talk about." I'm like, "Oh fuck!" And to make it worse, she's holding, I'm assuming her baby. I mean, she was holding a baby who was crying the entire fucking 25 minutes. And I get it, I'm stay at home moms, it's a tough gig. I'm not disparaging anybody who has to take care of their babies while trying to work. No shame in your game. But especially if you're calling me, I'm sorry. We close at 6:30. Get that like take care of your baby, get it to stop crying, and then call us back. But anyway, so I had to spend 25 minutes listening to a baby crying in my ear, which Trae just calls our Monday night show usually. And um, I fucked up like 4 times on this fucking call, and it was stuff that it's like I don't fuck up about. It's like, but that baby crying in my ear and trying to do my job and like pretend that the baby's not crying in my ear the whole time. It was pissing me off.
Was that
You're breaking up there. What was that? Trey, you still there? Trey, I can't hear you. Which is funny because you're not on mute. I don't know if you can hear me, Trey, but you might want to back
Okay,
out and come
hello?
back in. Yep, there we go. Can you hear me? Okay, so Trey's gonna have to
Uh,
back out and come back in. Um, I don't know if he can hear me, but I'm texting him right now on Facebook. Um,
uh,
so yeah, you gotta love technology sometimes, right? Anyway, so there's that. Let's see. Anything in the world of pro wrestling I want to talk about right now while Trey is eventually going to back out and come back in because I don't know if he's even seen what I sent him yet. Because he's still in the chat. Trey, are you there? Oh, he's finally read my message on Facebook. Um, Trae's computer is having a stroke, which sounds like a very serious issue here. So I'm going to remove Trae. Oh no, I can't do that because if I do, he can't rejoin. Well, we're going to see if Trae ever rejoins here. At some point, I'm sure he's going to drop off. But let's see here. Okay, do what you need to do. So the Sandman, he has his retirement opponent coming up. It's going to be the Invisible Man at the next GCW show over WrestleMania weekend. It's going to be Sandman's final opponent, his retirement opponent, against the Invisible Man. And it's like, I think it's weird that it's like Joey Janela, who I don't know how much he really books this shit, but like Joey Janela always ends up being the person in like, and it's Joey Janela's spring break. So of course, like he's going to be in a marquee match on the show named after himself. But I think it's funny that like one of the marquee matches is Sandman's final match, and Joey Janela is not taking part in it. But so anyway, the Sandman's final opponent being the Invisible Man. I popped because Vinny Verhey on the F4W website, he did the article talking about that match, how the Sandman's final opponent is revealed as the Invisible Man, and is completely 100% serious as he's explaining this, and he's telling about the history of the Invisible Man and all that shit. And I popped so bad that I had to make sure to tell him that in the F4W chat that we have. I just posted in the chat that I popped for Vinny, and I'm opening it right now. So Vinny said, as I told a friend, I have a gift for spotting the absurdity in life and letting it speak for itself. You gotta love it. Trae, you back yet? Nope, you're not. Okay, great. Um, So I have no idea if and when Trae's going to return to us here, especially because he's technically still in the fucking Zoom chat here. So this is going to be an interesting thing here. Um, so yeah, and it actually reminded me, going back to the Sandman vs. Invisible Man and Vinny doing a very straightforward, you know, write up about that match. It reminded me of like 2017, 2018 when Hiromu Takahashi had Daryl and for those Trae, you back?
Hey, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, but okay, so I can hear you and you can hear me. You're coming through my speaker instead of my, for some reason, the Bluetooth on my computer has gone out, which
Well, that
cut
sucks.
off both my headphones and my mouse. So I
I was
cannot
gonna say because
do
you are
anything.
mm, you are echoey. So, but it's like not in a bad way, but it's more in that you're not on a headset, obviously.
Yeah, I'm not on a headset because, as I just established, the Bluetooth connection to my computer is no longer working.
Oh, wonderful. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
which
I'm
is
not.
terrific.
I reported to the listener that you reported your computer had a stroke. But the funny thing is, you never left Zoom. You were always on here, and I like, huh, that's kind of weird.
Yeah, no,
Um,
I've been here the whole time. It's just I can't my headset and then my mouse is not working at all. And I'm gonna have to unhook this other mouse from this other computer, and that's uh it's very
well,
irritating to be dealing with right now.
like I say, take your time. I was in the middle of a good commentary on Daryl Takahashi and the Sandman's final match. Um, so while Trey deals with that, I'll talk about Daryl Takahashi. So for those who don't remember, Hiromu Takahashi in around 2017, 2018 had a stuffed cat that he brought to the ring named Daryl. And it got to almost preposterous degrees because then Daryl had a wife and Daryl had kids. And it's like it was a whole thing. And it was kind of funny, but it's like you can see it's the kind of thing that if Jim Cornette watched New Japan, Jim Cornette would have had a conniption about it. And it's funny because that was around, I think, emphasis on thing. I think that was around the time when the Young Bucks started doing BTE. And that then, because Dave reported the stories of Daryl Takahashi like it was legitimate news, and it was like, and it reminded me of Vinny talking about Sandman wrestling Invisible Man, and so that I thought was funny. Vinny I thought was funny. Wasn't really a fan of when Dave would give long, in-depth reviews on BTE in the Observer. And I mean, hey, it wasn't my thing, but hey, if it was other people's thing, I guess that's whatever. And I've whined about BTE in the past and how my biggest complaint about Dynamite for a while was that they would have random stuff happening on Dynamite back when it was doing 800,000 to a million viewers, and they were having random stuff on Dynamite that you would have no idea what the hell that was happening unless you watched BTE or read the Observer a week later. And that was my biggest whining one time was I should not when the Dark Order came out on lawnmowers that time, and I complained about this for years. I should not have to read the Observer to know why something is happening on a show with a million viewers. You know, if I don't know this, the announcers should be telling me this, which they never did. But that's neither here nor there. Trae, how's that mouse coming along?
It's not. I'm trying to
Okay.
You want to distract yourself and talk about the Sandman's opponent, the Invisible Man?
I went to the spring break that I went to in 2018,
Mm-hmm.
but I think the Invisible Man won the clusterfuck.
I did not know Invisible Man won a clusterfuck until I read Vinny's write up yesterday.
I
I,
whatever. Sandman, if that's the way you want to go out, you do you, buddy.
I just like I said, I don't know if you heard me say this, but I was kind of thought it was weird that like it's Joey Janela's spring break, and Joey Janela is always in a marquee match, and it's like he's not the one wrestling Sandman. Like that to me, that seemed obvious when they announced it was gonna be Sandman's last match. I'm like, oh, he's wrestling Janela, but you know,
Well, maybe Sandman is worried that wrestling Joe Janela in your last match kills you.
um, I I I I will bet that the Sandman versus the Invisible Man will not be as entertaining as Minoru Suzuki versus a sex doll was. Yeah.
Uh,
That was a fun little match last year with Minoru Suzuki and a sex doll. Things you never thought you'd ever say in your life. Minoru Suzuki versus a sex doll.
it's really a shame it was supposed to happen WrestleMania weekend 2020 and never happened. Minoru Suzuki versus Orange Cassidy.
I remember that. I remember it's because I was like, that was still like actually no, Orange had his first match already in AEW, but I was like, it was like that guy is gonna wrestle Minoru Suzuki. That seems a little wild and a little strange. But sadly never happened. Um It's funny, like going back in my Facebook memories, like I'm at that point where I'm booking everything for that Tampa WrestleMania and I'm getting so excited. And it's like, oh, fuck me, fuck. That was a missed opportunity.
Boy, was
Um,
it.
yeah. So anyway, we finally go to the ring here in Smoky Mountain Wrestling for our first match, which was Dick Dancing Steve Skyfire versus Bruiser Bedlam with Jim Cornette. And I thought it was funny because like Steve Skyfire and the fans didn't know who he was wrestling. They just see Jobber Steve Skyfire already in the ring. They booed him. And I was like, who the hell is he wrestling? He's wrestling White Boy and Bedlam's music play. And, please correct me if you think I'm wrong. The fans kind of cheered for Bruiser Bedlam. You know, I think to them, Steve Skyfire was a douche, and it's like, okay, we may not like Bruiser Bedlam, but Bruiser Bedlam's gonna murder this douche, and murder him he did.
Bruiser Bedlam's such a likable guy.
I mean, maybe they're all union members, and well, like, yeah, and you have Bruiser Bedlam there. He's a staunch representative of a union, and you know, And maybe that's why Bruiser Bedlam's now getting all these title shots, even though he lost to White Boy, because he's got a good union rep that's fighting for him.
I hadn't thought of that. That's good.
Yeah. I mean, it helps that they don't really mention the union anymore. Like, they mentioned it last week in passing, but that was about it. So Bruiser Bedlam won with the claw, and really he should have been disqualified because he kept putting it back on after the match, but breaking at the count of 5. He did it like 2 or 3 times before they stopped. I'm like, yeah, Mark Curtis, you need to be investigated right after Bronco Lubitsch and David Manning Von Erich. Um, but let's go now to Jim Cornette, who has some stuff to say, like he's wont to do.
Well, Bruiser had it pretty much his own way, but it'll be a different story against the dirty white boy, Jim Cornette.
No, it's not going to be a different story. It's just going to be the same old song and dance. Bruiser Bedlam, once again, is going to demolish, destroy, demoralize, and decombobulate anybody that stands in his path, and that includes the dirty white boy, right, Bruiser?
Yeah. That white boy, you dirty white punk! I want you! You got what I want! I'm yours! You're mine! You're mine for good, punk!
You see, I have never managed the Smoky Mountain Heavyweight Champion, and that's something that I lust for. That's something that my mouth waters at the prospect of. That's something that the taste buds in my tongue just get all tingly over. Is seeing that big gold heavyweight championship belt around this man's waist. And dirty white boy, you are nothing but a stinking ridge running East Tennessee hillbilly, just like the rest of these morons from here in Cumberland, Kentucky. And I don't want to hear nothing about how a country boy can't survive, because the only thing a country boy can do is go on welfare. And you're going to give, that's right, I said give, one way or another. Either you give blood, or maybe like you give something else a little more dear. You're going to give that title on over to Bruiser Bedlam. And I want to talk for a second about this Apple Brawl 94 thing, Rage in the Cage. It's going to be Tracy Smothers, the Dirty White Boy, and the Rock and Roll Express. 4 men on one team, Bruiser Bedlam, Chris Candido, and the Gangstas on the other team. They have put us in with the Gangstas. The Gangstas, they won't even talk to me. They won't talk to Bruiser. They don't talk to Candido or Tammy. They don't want to be managed by anybody. But yet we have to be partners with them at Apple Brawl. And all I know is Smoky Mountain Wrestling, I still don't know who the commissioner is, but somebody is behind this. Somebody's out to get me. And as a matter of fact, Tammy Fitch at the same time, and maybe the Gangstas. But I'm going to find out who that commissioner is, but I don't know about the prospect of being partners with the Gangstas at Apple Brawl. It concerns me, and I'm still trying to contact them, still trying to get them to talk to me so we can work out some strategy. But so far, no dice. But one thing I guarantee is that Dirty White Boy, you're going to hear a whole lot more from Bruiser Bedlam even before Apple Brawl takes place.
All right, fans, right now, let's...
So, Trae, remember back in, I think it was March, right after the Thrill Seekers debuted, but before, the Heavenly Bodies lost the Loser Leaves Town match, they asked Cornette about the Thrill Seekers, and he just walked away, and we're like, this is what's called, a precursor to an angle.
Uh-huh.
This is what's called a precursor to an angle, ladies and gentlemen. The Gangstas have the team with the white people, and they're not interested in talking to them.
I'm excited. I know where this is going.
Yeah, it takes a little while because I don't think it pays off till the end of the year. So we still got a few months of build to it. But anyway, Bruiser Bedlam wants the heavyweight title. Cornette lusts over managing the champion. White Boy's a Tennessee moron, just like the people here in East Kentucky. So does that make the people in East Kentucky Tennessee morons or just regular morons?
Yes.
Okay, great. Now, knowing the damage is already done, not only did they tape Dirty White Boy pinning Bruiser Bedlam, but they aired it on television. Would there have been a way to save it by not ever mentioning it again? Now, it's already too late. The cat's already out of the bag. They've already replayed it. But let's say they did it and then realized, oh, fuck, what did we do that for? And then never brought it up again. Would that have been any better?
No, not really.
Okay. So Apple Brawl 94, as you heard them mention, it's September 30th in Painesville, Kentucky. And it's a 4-match show, and it's your classic Smoky Mountain 4-match show. Lance Storm versus Chris Candido, Dirty White Boy versus Bruiser Bedlam, the Rock and Rolls versus the Gangstas, and then all 8 of them in a Rage in the Cage War Games match. And I'm pretty sure it doesn't air at all on TV. I'm sure it's one of those things that we're going to hear about, and then we're not going to hear about it ever again.
Oh, sad.
Yeah. I could be wrong, but at the very least, when it was what I do every time we go to a new TV taping. I go to ProWrestlingHistory.com, find the date of the show, where it's at, and how many shows are taped and what numbers they are. And the next four shows are all one after another. And that's not to say they may not slip in some clips, but I'm not expecting it anyway.
Yeah. Well, poop.
Yep, I'm sorry. We may have to live with only having one Rage in the Cage match that we ever saw on this program.
I wanted to see the shitty, ugly cage again.
I'm confident that we'll break that shitty, ugly cage out again. You think we'll see the shitty, ugly cage in Smoky Mountain before or after we see a cage in Mid South?
I'm surprised we haven't seen a cage in Mid South. Oh well, not
Oh,
in the
the TV
Irishman Hill
show.
Boys School. A damn Ted DiBiase.
Yep, we were supposed to have one like a month or 6 weeks ago, but that damn Ted DiBiase. Um,
I hope that somebody forces Ted DiBiase to fight in a steel cage in a tuxedo. That would serve him right.
you know what would serve him right, even more right? It was a loser leaves town steel
That,
cage tuxedo street fight.
that match might have had the most adjectives like ever. A steel
I know it's
cage
obviously
loser leaves town tuxedo street fight.
I know we're still like 6 weeks away and it's not even this show, but it's like I know who wins and loses, and I also know that neither of them leave town. Like, so I'm maybe not right away, but I know that the loser is back fairly quickly, like a month, maybe 2 months later. Um, so we'll see how that goes. It could be one of those Arya loses her shit over Ricky Morton not losing his hair moments.
Which I guess
Um,
we've just moved on from that.
oh yeah, yeah. We're they're like that they fucked up and like they're not even going to pretend that that was a thing. Um, and it's like and it's hilarious that like they keep like mentioning in passing that they're going to do hair versus mask matches at the live events with Ricky Morton and Candido, so everyone can see Candido's bald head. It's like, why would you buy tickets to that show when you were told that, we're definitely going to have either Ricky Morton or Tammy Fitch be shaved bald? And spoiler, neither of them were.
It's
Spoiler
fucking
for a third.
embarrassing.
Yep. Spoiler for a 32-year-old show that we talked about a month ago. Um, so before personality profile, we got a replay of Bullet Bob having alcohol thrown in his eyes last week. If I was any kind of super duper professional podcast person, I would go in after the show and find last week's clip of us talking about that and drop it in right here so people could hear us talk about it again. But instead, I'm not super duper professional. I'm going to tell you to go listen to last week's fucking show. You know?
Do it.
So,
Get our numbers up. Even if you already listened to it, go listen to it again.
exactly. We would not be offended if you go listen to the show 2 or 3 times each. Like, I don't know about you, but like when you were a kid and you were really getting into wrestling and you were maybe not at the peak of your fandom, but like really, really, really into wrestling, did you tape the shows and rewatch them until before the next show?
Yeah.
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 I like I would tape Raw and then the next week before Nitro, I would watch Raw again. Last week's Raw. You know?
No such
But
thing as too much wrestling.
nope. Until nowadays when you have 2 to 3 hour shows a week.
Yeah, now there's too much wrestling. Here's the
Yes.
thing. It's like if it was 1975, but that you had access to every territory in the world.
Yes. And it's funny because I think it does have something to do with the fact that it's spread out all week long. Because when we were kids, and we talked about it on the show, we watched the B shows, we watched the C shows. But you know what? Those happened on Saturday and Sunday. You know, there was not Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Like when Raw ended on Monday at 10 o'clock in 1994, that was the last wrestling I could watch until the next Saturday. And so like when Saturday hit and I wanted to watch Worldwide and Mania and Superstars, and Wrestling Challenge and all that, it's like, I was a loser who had nothing better to do on a Saturday than sit around and watch 6 hours of wrestling. But that was my thing, And then Monday would come, I'd watch Raw, it would end at 10, and then I wouldn't have anything to watch for 5 days. Like now it's like there's probably just as much wrestling on national TV now as there was then, but back then it was all condensed, so it didn't feel like you had to spend every day of the week watching wrestling.
I did not get the experience of Saturday morning wrestling. I was a Monday Night Wars kid. But Saturday morning wrestling for me was Livewire.
I was gonna say it was Livewire. Superstars was Sunday. That was
Superstars was Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah. And like that was after it was already a recap show. You weren't watching when it was still
no.
Yeah. So what about I guess this was obviously when you were already an adult. I was gonna say, what about Saturday Morning Slam? But that was many, many years later. It was like 2011, 2012?
That was much later.
Yeah. Actually, do you remember what was the name of that fucking show they had, like that replaced Confidential, but instead of it being on Saturday night, it was like either Saturday or Sunday morning at like 9 or 10 a.m., but it was just a magazine show hosted by Ivory. Do you have any idea what the hell I'm talking about? There was some show that went like maybe a year, that would air either Saturday or Sunday mornings at 10. I remember watching it like once, but it was like I remember Ivory hosted. That's like it. But,
I remember Excess, but I can't remember if that was before or after Confidential.
Nope. Excess was during the Invasion angle. That was fall 2001 until that led into Velocity and Confidential, which is funny because like that was the 2-hour time period that WWE was trying to get for WCW, and TNN didn't want to give it to them for WCW, but gave it to them to have Excess.
Now, Velocity was my shit. I was a loyal Velocity and Sunday Night Heat watcher.
When Velocity came out, that was around the time when I stopped being the I need to watch every bit of wrestling that airs on television type of person.
I was in high school and had nothing else going on in my life.
Yeah. Shockingly, the two hosts of this show were people who had nothing better to do with themselves on a Saturday night than watch hours and hours of wrestling. Is anybody listening to this surprised to hear that?
Because unlike today, when we have so many more things to do than watch hours and hours of wrestling.
It's just funny because like I have no life. I could just sit here and watch hours and hours of wrestling every fucking day. And it doesn't help. Not only do we get 6 2 or 3 hours shows a week, it's like, what if I wanted to watch New Japan? What if I wanted to watch AAA? What if I watch CMLL? It's like, I don't know how, like, I don't know if Dave actually watches every show, but I don't know how somebody like Dave can sit here and watch every fucking show. I know it's a job, but it's like, how? Like, that's too fucking much wrestling. Especially because I think he still watches all the UFC shows, or at least most of them anyway.
Does he really?
Wow. I don't really read the Observer. I know that Ryan Frederick does the UFC recap, so maybe Dave doesn't actually watch them, but I'm at least led to believe he at least watches bits of them at least. Now we really went off on a tangent there. Let's go to. By the way, remember like 5-10 minutes ago when we said that before Personality Profile, we saw a replay of Bullet Bob having alcohol thrown in his eyes, and then I took us down an entire fucking path here. Again, ADHD Wrestling Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Let's now go to Personality Profile with Dirty White Boy and Bullet Bob Armstrong.
Well, Bob, we saw it on tape. They might throw something in your eyes, but they can't take your heart away. I've known you too long, my friend.
Well, I'll tell you what, my right eye's still a little cloudy, but got one good eye left. And the good news is this. Next week, already signed, sealed, and I intend to deliver, I got Jimmy Cornette in a handicap match. You know, he'll never go one-on-one with anybody. So he got the enforcer, the big man, Killer Kyle, 300 pounds of bad news. But I'll take whatever he can throw, Les. If I can just get one good shot at Jimmy Cornette next week, I'm going to lay him out, brother. And I'll tell you this, I'm going to be throwing more than alcohol at him. I may fix him up so bad his rich mama will have plastic surgery just to remember what her son used to look like. Next week, I'm going to get my hands on him. It's a fact.
Bullet, good luck to you on next week's card. And, of course, White Boy, I know you'd like nothing better than to square off with a big Bruiser.
That's it, you know, Bruiser Bedlam comes out here, he's got the big arms, the big chest, and he's also got a big mouth. But that ain't getting it done, big boy, because this time, you're good at jumping on people from behind. But this time around, big boy, anytime that I can get my hands on you, I'll be looking straight across the ring at you understand? And then you get to this little bitty mama's boy by the name of Jim Cornette. He's always wanting to pitch a fit. And yes, I am a hillbilly, and I am a ridge runner. And what we do to spoil rotten brats are, we take a belt and we bust their booties. So, Jim Cornette, if you stick your nose into my business, mama's boy, that's exactly what I'll do. I'll jerk your drawers down and I'll blister that behind for you.
Well, there you have it from Bullet Bob and the Dirty White Boy. Mr. Cornette, it appears that you've got your hands full. That's our profile for today.
White Boy is apparently convinced that now Bruiser Bedlam will not attack him from behind. I do not know where he gets that confidence from because, I don't know, I think he might still attack him from behind.
Oh, he's such an honorable fellow.
He is, but yeah, I'm fully expecting him to attack from behind. So next week, we're going to have what is really the first time on television, Bullet Bob Armstrong versus Jimmy Cornette, even though it's in a handicap match with Cornette and Killer Kyle.
Jimmy Cornette.
Yes.
Like Ricky Flair.
And Dickie Murdoch.
Dickie Murdoch, yeah.
Yeah. But now, White Boy says that, yes, he is a hillbilly and a ridge runner, to which I had to ask, what the hell is a ridge runner? Now, Trae, before you answer, I went to the always reliable Google AI to discover what a ridge runner is. A ridge runner can refer to a seasonal staff educating hikers on trails like the Appalachian Trail, a nickname for mountain dwellers, or various recreational/commercial products like a mountain coaster at Blue Mountain, an indoor water slide, or a specialized treadmill. It is also the name for a movie, an outdoor gear company, and a military training exercise. So the Dirty White Boy is one of those things, and I'm fairly certain he means that he is a specialized treadmill.
You know what? I'm not even gonna. I don't even want to shatter your illusion. I just want to let you believe that the Dirty White Boy is a specialized treadmill.
Safe to assume that one of those things I listed are what the Dirty White Boy is referring to himself as.
No.
Really? Because I would have assumed that he really meant a mountain dweller. Okay, so what is
maybe,
a ridge runner then?
Maybe he does mean a mountain. To me, it's usually used in the context of moonshiners.
Okay.
But I don't know if that's it may be specifically mountain dwellers, many of whom were also moonshiners.
I do think it's funny that we're getting the Dirty White Boys in Mid-South and Tony Anthony. He doesn't have a full head of hair, but his hair is closer to his forehead than it is now. But he's using the Arya formula where when the hair starts leaving the top of your head, you just let it grow longer in the back of your head to make up for it.
There you
go. So Mike Moraldo versus the Smoky Mountain champion, Dirty White Boy. Yes, Dirty White Boy walked to the back just so he could play his music so he could walk right back out. Mike Moraldo, he was a WWF jobber, and I feel like he's one of those people like he has a more of a name than Mike Moraldo, but I'm forgetting it. And we'll see if this match actually ends up on TV, but according to ProWrestlingHistory.com, he was in a dark match today where he lost to D'Lo Brown. So D'Lo is on his way in.
Oh, all right. It may have been D'Lo's tryout.
Let me see here. So while I'm going to play, because Big Jim Cornette comes out to do commentary for this match, so I'm going to do some digging for Mike Moraldo, because I feel like he's somebody, but I just can't figure out who the hell it is. So let's go to Jim Cornette on commentary.
You've said, Bob Coughlin, I've agreed with it a long time. Big Jim Cornette, because I'm a big man around here, and I don't appreciate what I heard that no-good Bullet Bob Armstrong and this dirty white trash in the ring right now saying about me. They were making public threats to my safety, and I ought to have them arrested.
Well, did you hear what the white boy said he was going to do to you? He was going to drop your pants right in the ring, boy, and he's going to put it to you.
I always knew he was that kind of guy, but I had no proof until now. But that is a public threat that was on videotape, threatening to take my clothes off, do harm to my body, and especially give me a whipping. He has got to be out of his mind, because let me tell you something. Whipping is not what you do a man of my breeding, a man of my culture, a man of my social status and background. Whipping is what you do to horse thieves, white trash, trailer park trash like the dirty white boy. You do that to welfare cases like these hillbillies that cheer for him so much. That's what you do. You give him a public whipping to show everybody all around town that kind of trash is not going to be tolerated in this society.
Hey, you must figure he might stand a chance of doing that. Big Bruiser Bedlam is out here. Is he protection? Is he guarding you? What's he doing out here?
Bruiser Bedlam is scouting the dirty white boy just on the off chance that white boy may have anything in his arsenal that Bruiser Bedlam needs to know about. And as a matter of fact, like I said before, a public whipping is just what the dirty white boy needs, and a public whipping, as a matter of fact, is just what I think he ought to get. Come on, Bruiser.
Oh, Cornette said he ought to get a whipping.
All right. So by the way, Ace Darling. Mike Moraldo is Ace Darling.
Yes, I also went to confirm. By the way, that was D'Lo Brown's first Smoky Mountain match, and according to Cage Match, it's airing on. It says September 17th. Is that next week?
Isn't that this week? No, this week's September 17th.
Okay, well, Cage Match is wrong a lot about the Smoky Mountain stuff. So yeah, okay, that was the match. Okay. So yeah, AC Connor defeated Mike Moraldo, and yeah, Ace Darling is the name that if you were of our generation and go through like indie names of the late 90s and early 2000s, Ace Darling was a name.
Ace Darling and Devon Storm were like the big deal in the late 90s, and obviously Devon Storm got his break, but Ace never did.
Well, I did not know until just now that AC Connor lost an enhancement match to Earthquake on WWF Superstars in April of 1994.
Do you mean he didn't know he lost to Earthquake? You didn't know he was a WWF jobber?
Both.
Okay, yeah, he was a WWF jobber for a few tapings, and I think that's where Cornette knew him from. And
probably it's only got
Chicago.
That one though.
Okay, I thought he had more, but I could be wrong. I don't know how he would have come in, because usually Italian Stallion was the guy that brought in all the job guys, and because that's how the Hardys got in and all that stuff. But who knows?
I just listened to a podcast or something about this recently, and I think D'Lo is from Chicago, but I think he was living in like Philly, Jersey, somewhere in there, and I'm not sure.
It's possibly even Candido may have known him from.
Trained by Al Snow and Larry Sharp.
There you go.
Okay.
It only took Al Snow 10 years to become an overnight success. Mike Moraldo cannot do a job on this show, apparently, because Bruiser Bedlam did hit the ring for the disqualification. And they attacked him with the belts. And, well,
you can't do that.
Dirty White Boy did not enjoy being hit with the belt. So since Cornette, being the sissy that he is, was hitting White Boy with the belt, it mustn't have hurt very much, because White Boy just grabbed it from him, and the heels ran off. and I'm assuming this is building to a strap match.
A whipping match.
Some sort. Oh yeah, because that was this show, right? That they were doing the whipping match where
I think so.
yeah, because if White Boy loses, he gets 10 lashes, but if Bruiser Bedlam loses, Bruiser gets 5 and Cornette gets 5.
Yeah.
It's nice that they cut promos for that match before they did the angle.
Yeah. Have you noticed they're showing the fucking Night of Legends VHS commercial twice on every show? They would really like you to buy that VHS.
On double VHS. This is like Titanic. 2 VHS tapes.
I bought it on DVD in, I don't know, 2010 or something. So I did my part. Smoky Mountain Wrestling.
I thought you were talking about Titanic. I'm like, well, you could have bought that on DVD too, I guess.
I had the double edition VHS.
So did I. And it cut off right where the guy said, you'll get your headlines after all.
I watched that on Netflix or whatever it was on, maybe like whatever the whole submersible thing happened. I watched it. Great movie. Holds up.
Mm-hmm. It really was a great movie. And I mean, like any movie, you can nitpick the hell out of anything, and that's why we have cinema sins. But yeah, it is a great movie.
Cinema Sins is fucking terrible, by the way.
I liked it, especially at first, but it's like, especially when he's doing movies that I really like, I'm like, oh, why you got to nitpick one of my favorite movies kind of thing?
It's just, like, you're just showing that you can nitpick anything. You're not actually doing any kind of insightful analysis.
Like, at first it was kind of fun. Like, I admit, like, oh yeah, look at him talking about The Room. The Room is one shitty movie. Let's point out how shitty it is. But it's like my favorite movie is The Shawshank Redemption, and like the worst thing I ever did was watch Cinema Sins on The Shawshank Redemption because I'm like, oh, I don't want my favorite movie to be like ruined like this.
Yeah.
And I've seen it pop up a few times. I don't know if it's one person necessarily or a bunch of people doing something similar, but I've seen people do that for wrestling. I just saw something pop up, everything wrong with the 1988 Royal Rumble. And I'm like, I don't need to fucking click on that. Like, I think everybody knows the 1988 Royal Rumble was not, the greatest thing of all time.
But somebody can show how clever they are for nitpicking a bunch of tropes.
There you go. So we find out here that Chris Jericho was injured further by Chris Candido last week when he jumped in the ring and Candido kicked his ass. I hear, though, he will be back in Smoky Mountain in 63 weeks.
With Bradshaw?
Yes, he's got his booking for the December 2, 1995 show. So from here, let's go to Thrill Seeker Lance Storm, who's with Bob Caudle for a promo.
Shoulder. All right, fans, with us right now, Lance Storm. Lance, you saw again what happened to your partner, Chris Jericho. I know how you feel about that, but by the way, in the meantime, until he's back and ready, you're going to need a new partner.
That's true. Everybody saw what happened to my partner, and we've decided that he should just stay away from the ring until he's 100%. We can't risk further injury. So he's flown back to Calgary. So I'm going to be out here by myself. So I needed to find somebody else to deal with Chris Candido and Mr. Boo Bradley. Well, I didn't have to look very hard because the big man stepped right up and volunteered because he's got a bigger problem with Chris Candido than anybody. So my new partner is going to be Brian Lee. And we step in the ring with Chris Candido and Boo Bradley, and we're going to take care of business for my partner.
All right, Lance. Hey, I tell you, I know you're going to make your partner feel pretty good about that.
You know it.
All right, fans, we'll have more action. Right now, let's take time out.
I know Lance says that he doesn't find himself, like, he doesn't find who Lance Storm is really until ECW. But, like, you could kind of see it here where, like, this is the start of not serious Lance Storm, but it's not Thrill Seeker Lance Storm. Like, he's more the Lance Storm we all know than, the guy who's planning to be as cheesy as Chris Jericho.
Yeah, he just didn't know it yet.
I also know this is the first time, I believe, that he's been on the show wearing the red and black tights.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get to this, but I guess this is not the best last 10 minutes of Bob Caudle's career because, like, Lance says he's going to be teaming with Brian Lee, and Bob's like, wow. I'm like, Bob, you literally said this 30 minutes ago.
He's just
Why is
trying to
this?
show some excitement.
Oh, I guess, but um, poor these poor fucking thrill seekers. And I get like it's not Y2J, Chris Jericho, and Lance Storm who were the team in Smoky Mountain Wrestling. So it's like they're interchangeable guys, but like they're still different enough that the fact that now that Jericho is gone, we're still fucking up which one is which.
I still can't
Uh,
remember which one is well and which one is done.
do we need to have that written down on your hand too? Um,
They're not coming back, are they?
I don't think so. No, not unless we start talking about WWF superstars. They're all over that.
Unless, unless we do another spot show and they pop up wrestling the Bushwhackers again.
Mr. Well and Mr. Dunn. Um, so we then got our main event, which is the U.S. Junior Heavyweight Champion and the WWE World Heavyweight Champion, the Suicide Blonde Chris Candido, and Boo Bradley, who had a broom with him, with their manager Tammy Fitch, versus the Beat the Champ TV champion Lance Storm and Primetime Brian Lee in a triple non-title match.
I wonder if
Tell now.
Candido's been defending his other titles. He's got to be just running himself ragged with that rigorous title defense schedule. It's probably
I
why
mean,
he couldn't keep on carrying big dummy Brian Lee to the Smoky Mountain Tag Team Championship. He's just exhausted.
yeah, I mean, Horsehead could not hold up his end of the bargain. Um, so the baby faces both came out to rock America, and I'm like, does this make Brian Lee an honorary thrill seeker?
Well, who's more thrilling than Brian Lee?
Um, you're gonna hate me for saying this, but Horner.
You know what?
Oh,
He should have said, Lance should have said that his new partner was going to be the Undertaker, and he had Brian Lee be the fake Undertaker.
oh my God. If you, and we thought that the Mummy was trying to kill the territory.
Oh man, if Cornette had run Prince Karras against the fake Undertaker, Smoky Mountain Wrestling would have won the Monday Night Wars.
They're not even on Monday Night Television, but they would have won the Monday Night War.
That's right.
Um, Now during this match, they made a point to say Lance will defend the TV title next week. So here's an idea. And I thought about this while they said that he won't be defending the title this week. I know, Trae, before I say this, I kind of know what your response is going to be. I know they have said that it's 5 defenses of the TV title. However, do you think they got fucked up with the count because they're counting the weeks that they don't defend the title as a not so much a successful defense, but by successfully holding it 1 week? So even though Lance Storm has wrestled twice, by next week he'll be on his 4th week as champion. So he'll only have to do 2 more wins to win the $5,000.
That is a terrible hypothesis, and it's still putting too much thought into this.
Now, this is what I was thinking when Primetime Brian Lee and Boo Bradley were wrestling, and I had to entertain myself somehow. But
You
to
didn't.
me, at least, it makes sense as to how they keep fucking up the count of the matches, at least.
You didn't enjoy Primetime Brian Lee and Boo Bradley?
It was interesting for 10 seconds. We'll say that. Now, with that said, I don't want to alarm anyone. And Trae, I'm happier sitting down over there. But Lance Storm and Chris Candido are really good at wrestling each other, and both are much better than Primetime Brian Lee and Boo Bradley.
These are facts.
Yes. Now, as I mentioned before, and I kind of fucked myself up when I would do the shorthands, but I like to put the shorthands of people's names so I don't have to keep writing out Bullet Bob Armstrong, Primetime Brian Lee, et cetera, et cetera. Well, there are too many wrestlers in this territory whose initials are BB.
Are
So,
there?
well, Bruiser Bedlam and
Bruiser
Boo
Bedlam, Boo
Bradley.
Bradley. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
That's
right.
one
Two
too
is too
many. Yeah.
many.
Yeah. Who said like, oh my God, I don't remember who. Oh yeah, TF. Because we had Tracy Smothers and the Thrill Seekers. So I was fucking myself up when I was doing the shorthand at the time. Um, so Boo slapped on an arm bar and bit a chunk of Lance's bicep and his ear. Now I assume Mike Tyson was watching this and thinking that that's a great idea if he's ever in a fight.
I bet Mike Tyson was a big Smoky Mountain Wrestling fan.
I bet. I bet he got the tapes. I don't know. I don't know when the hell he got out of jail, but he's either in jail right now cutting the tapes, or he's in Catskill training to return to the ring, getting the tapes.
Yeah.
Um. So both Bob and Les said that Jericho tumbled out of the ring when Bruiser Bedlam. Wow, I fucked that one up. When Boo Bradley pulled down the top rope down after I just complained about too many BBs, I got the wrong one. Brian Lee got the hot tag, and Candido. I love this. Candido's beating on Lance Storm. Lance gets the hot tag. Candido is quote unquote trying to get away from Brian Lee by running in place as fast as he can and not moving at all. And of course, Brian Lee just beat his fucking ass. I love that. Oh, I guess Chris Candido's still going to be here till like February, but we're going to miss him when he's gone.
He's great.
And the good news is, by the end of this match, Les at least figured out which one was Chris Jericho and which one was Lance Storm. Then we get a fucked up finish here, at least what I thought was fucked up, because Brian Lee's on the outside. Mark Curtis is looking right at him and counting him out, and Tammy hits him with her purse, and Mark Curtis immediately rings the bell. I'm like, okay, the babyfaces win by disqualification. Except no, the heels win by countout. And I guess they kind of tried to avoid it by shooting around the fact that Mark Curtis was looking right at them, but it was hard to avoid. But it's like, yeah, that should have been a DQ win for the baby faces here.
Yeah,
And if Trae was talking now, he'd say, "I agree, Arya. I think you're the smartest person I've ever talked to."
I absolutely. That's what I was in the process of saying. I had another little computer hiccup.
Yep. But what were your actual thoughts on this match?
I enjoyed it. A classic athletic guy and big guy against athletic guy and big guy tag pairing. It was, yeah. I noticed that Tammy took out Brian Lee's knee with her purse, and I idly wondered if his balls were still in there or if he had been able to retrieve them.
I'm gonna bet his balls were still in there. Although in reality, 20-year-old Tammy Fitch, if I wanted to keep my balls, I'd probably still give them to Tammy at that point. So the show went right off the air. We didn't have an end of the show promo like we usually do. They reiterated next week's handicap match main event, which I haven't watched next week's show, but I'm not anticipating that match to be a 20-minute catch as catch can classic.
Think it'll actually happen?
I think it will. I have confidence that at the very least, Bullet Bob Armstrong will wrestle Killer Kyle. Whether or not Jim Cornette, gets involved at all is another story, but we'll see next week.
Well, I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, this show flew by. And I think, and it helped that the first 17 minutes of the show were the Gangstas Rock and Roll Express angle. And I think it's it too, because especially those first 20 minutes sometimes, not that the show drags, but because the format of the show usually, we start with a quick squash match, then we get a promo with the winner, then we go to commercial and come back, and that's usually when we get that segment of 3 promos back to back to back that span the 10 to 20-minute part of the show. And sometimes that can make the show drag a bit because it feels like, okay, I'm just talking about promo, talking about promo, talking about promo. Whereas this was just one, not continuous, but fairly continuous 17 minutes in a row here. And I think that really helped the show, go quickly and smoothly. And, if we were grading these shows, I'd give it an A+.
Yeah, this worked well. This was a enjoyable show. Very easy to watch.
Yep. So 138 down, 62 to go. We are everyone start giggling. We're 69% of the way through. Ha 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 ha.
Nice.
All right. So before we go, we like to talk about what else happened this week in wrestling. And Trae's going to get confused for about 4 seconds here because the main story is the NFL debuted on Fox this week, which is going to make everyone feel old because that was 32 years ago. And of course, the NFL is still on Fox to this day. But you and Trae might be wondering, what the hell does that have anything to do with wrestling, Arya? Are you fucking stupid? I'm like, no, I'm not fucking stupid. My partner is. But anyway, the real reason is because a lot of the Fox affiliates had WWF and WCW syndicated shows on Saturday mornings and Saturday afternoons that they now had to find new spots for. And a lot of these syndicated shows are getting some shitty time slots. And when I read that, it reminded me that around this time is when Wrestling Challenge moved from whatever time it used to be on to 1:30 in the morning on Saturday nights. And so it's like, of course, I never saw Wrestling Challenge ever again.
It's a very bad time.
What was that?
That's a very bad time for a TV show.
Yeah, especially syndicated. 'Cause at the time, they were still primarily focused on house shows, and you promoted your house shows through the syndicated TV shows. And so it's like, who the hell's up at 1:30 in the morning to watch the promos telling me that the WWF is coming to the Ag Hall in Allentown, Pennsylvania? Get your tickets now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it did not occur to me as a child that that's why it got moved to 1:30 in the morning. I think it was on Saturday night at 1:30 in the morning too.
Well, now
It just
you
meant that
know.
it just meant that I had one less wrestling show to watch now. Uh, WCW held their Fall Brawl 1994 show, main evented by Dusty Rhodes, Dustin Rhodes, and the Nasty Boys, defeating the Stud Stable in a forgettable but still fun War Games match. Vader became the number one contender, winning a triangle match against Sting and the Guardian Angel. However, Vader would have to wait for multiple other wrestlers to get title shots at Hogan first.
Indeed.
That was also the show where Jim Duggan made his on-screen debut. He had done a few matches that hadn't yet aired, but he did his on-screen debut, beating Steve Austin in 30 seconds for the U.S. title when Ricky Steamboat had to give up the title due to his back injury, and Duggan came out and beat him in 30 seconds.
Okay, I didn't realize that that was his debut.
Yep. Like I said, he taped some, like, I think worldwide matches or even Saturday night matches, but they hadn't aired yet. And the funny thing is, I don't know what happened with Duggan and Austin. Like, I mean, I know Austin was not terribly pleased by this turn of events, but when I met Jim Duggan the first time, it was like back in 2005. I couldn't think of anything smart to ask him, so I asked him, did he think he could still beat Steve Austin in 30 seconds? And Duggan was, I got him nice and angry for the next person because Duggan was not too thrilled with Steve Austin in 2005, at least.
It's terrific.
Yeah. Yes. Which is why I always say, like, Jim Duggan, like, and this isn't even really on Jim Duggan. It's just, I asked a question that got him riled up. It's like Jim Duggan's like one of my most negative experiences meeting wrestlers. And I don't have a whole lot of negative experiences meeting wrestlers. And then really slow news week. I had to kind of dive deep into page 17 of the Observer to get the last thing. But Ole Anderson was let go from WCW this week. And this is another of those stories that Jim Cornette has told on his show and actually does tie into Smoky Mountain that we'll see in the next few months because WCW had also fired Ole's son Bryant, and Ole got Bryant in with Smoky Mountain. So Cornette drove to the power plant to film some promos with Ole and Bryant. Bischoff found out about it, showed up at the power plant, and apparently gave Ole a lecture about certain people he shouldn't be hanging around with. And then the next day, Bischoff fired him.
Sounds like a very Bischoff thing to do.
And I haven't read Bischoff's book in a long ass time, but I do remember in his book he mentioned that he was not a fan of Ole Anderson in general, and so it was no skin off his back to let him go.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Believe it or not, Ole Anderson is not the most well-liked human being in the world. I'm as shocked as you are.
Can't imagine why.
Yeah. Former IWGP champion Tadao Yasuda died this week in real life, not in 1994. He's one of those people, and like Trae obviously knows that era of New Japan a little bit better than I do, but to me, he was one of those. Inoki was so obsessed with showing the world that like the IWGP champion was the best real fighter in the world, and so he was putting the title on people based on whether or not they won fights in pride. And
Yes.
and Yasuda is one of those guys who got the IWGP title because of that.
Yasuda was a fairly unremarkable pro wrestler. And then when Inoki started doing all the whole shoot thing, Yasuda beat Jerome LeBanner in a shoot fight. And then I believe that was when Kazuyuki Fujita had been the IWGP Heavyweight Champion and vacated it for whatever reason. And Yasuda beat Yuji Nagata for the vacant title. This was in 2002. And I think he defended the title one time against Hiroyoshi Tenzan before he had a rematch with Nagata. And Nagata won the title and started his year-long title reign. It was record breaking for the time.
I was gonna say, didn't he beat Nagata for the title in the first
Yeah,
place?
he beat Nagata for the vacant title, and then Nagata beat him back for it. And then he was part of the Makai Club, which was like a
I
stable of weird masked wrestlers who worshipped Antonio Inoki, and he kind of became he was kind of fun in that role. And then he ended up, I believe there were allegations that he had gambling problems, and that ended up causing him to leave New Japan. And I guess I don't know if he wrestled much after that. Maybe he did some IGF stuff, but yeah,
I
Tadao Yasuda, R.I.P.
I didn't know what the Mackay Club was, but I do remember reading Dave not losing his shit, but Dave being very much like, oh, these fucking people. Um, but yeah,
Yeah,
who would have thought Antonio Inoki would book a group of people who worshipped him?
this is what was going on when I got into New Japan. So
Mhm.
yeah, the children are weak.
Um, Let me see. So Hiromu Takahashi's last singles match. Let me see. Is that apparently his last singles match is gonna well, no, that's his last match period. So his last singles match appears to be Masatori Yasuda, Sunday in Osaka. Hiromu Takahashi is I
This past Sunday.
was it this past Sunday? I'm just clicking on this thing and that's where it came up. Okay. So this past Sunday, Hiromu Takahashi had his last singles match in New Japan.
I saw that he came out to his old Young Lion theme, and then after the match, he bequeathed the theme onto Young Lion Masatori Yasuda.
Nice. Apparently Double or Nothing is leaving the Southwest entirely. They're going to Louis Armstrong Stadium in Queens for this year's Double or Nothing show. So the
That's
same complex as Arthur Ashe Stadium.
see another tennis stadium, right?
Yes. I'll be honest, and I know, like, well, they stopped going because they weren't selling tickets anymore. But Arthur Ashe Stadium was a really cool setup.
Yeah, it looks really cool in a tennis stadium, so I bet that'll be cool.
I After hearing, I've never been to I never went to one of the Arthur Ashe Stadium shows, but after hearing like some of the horror stories, especially with the parking and getting in and out of there, I'm probably not going to go. I mean, I could. It's Memorial Day weekend, so maybe I'll just say fuck it and do it. But at least as of right now, I'm not going.
I understand, honestly. The parking is a whole situation.
But I know that he only does so many pay-per-views a year. I know he does like 8 or 9, but still only so many shows. It still pisses me off he's not coming to Boston for a pay-per-view. And it's like, we in Boston have been like one of the more consistent crowds that they get for Dynamite is in Boston. And I don't know if it's the cost. Hey, I'm not doing the fucking accounting for AEW, but like maybe it's the cost or something. But it's like, I don't know why he's just not taking pay-per-view up to Boston. And especially the last Dynamite, it was the Dynamite Collision double taping. He came out either halfway through the show or at the end of the show as the hip hip hooray speech. And we had a very loud chant for pay-per-view.
Sure, it'll happen. Texas didn't get one until last year.
That's true. Yeah, I don't know why I'm questioning it. You would know. I get unless you count Supercard of Honor, but that was technically. I mean, that was booked when it was still Sinclair presents Ring of Honor. But
Yeah, no.
um, yeah. Yeah, I guess we'll see how things go. And it's like, I get you got to spread the wealth around, and I shouldn't be so selfish, but I'd like to be able to go to one of these damn pay-per-views where I can sleep in my own bed. You know, I'd like to not have to get a fucking Airbnb or a hotel one night. Like, let me sleep in my own bed. I'll be much happier. All right. So I guess that's gonna do it here. We ran out of things to talk about here, and so that's it. I don't, at least as of right now, we're not doing a spot show tomorrow. But usually, when we do a spot show, it's like uh, either Trey or I are bored and just go, "You want to do a spot show?" And the other one's like, "Sure, why not?" And find something to watch. We don't even ever have a
If
plan as
there's a
what to watch half
demand,
the time.
perhaps.
Yeah, yeah. Oh God. But yeah, so that's gonna do it for this week. Hope you all enjoyed the show. Thank you all for listening, and we'll talk to you again in 7 days.
Bye.